From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big midday live from Santa Monica, California, with the latest update about your fourth stimulus check of 2021. In this recording, we go over the big fireworks that unfolded last Saturday night as your $3.5 trillion recon passed. Cluster number 1, 2, and 3 passed. In this recording, we'll go over all these incredible checks that they got in there, including checks for seniors, workers, hazard pay, bikes, cars, home repairs, and college grants. All huge monies of checks for the American people. Then we'll be cutting to those IRS monthly stimulus checks as senators and House members say they're putting it in there, telling no less than 1,000 viewers of this channel. We'll go over the breaking news you're hearing for the first time at noontime as the president calls a meeting on Friday to discuss the recon and the roads and bridges. And guess what? Not one, not two, but 3 successes for this channel as recon is protected. And the roads and bridges vote goes down in flames on Thursday, goes down in flames on Friday, and goes down in flames forever. As the president says, I'm not doing a vote on the roads and bridges until you agree to the recon. Then a strange twist unfolding, and I have a teaser of what's happening about this for next week. As one major player of the entire equation says, they've been hearing your advocacy for the inclusion of a stimulus check, and then maybe using your advocacy to get that stimulus check over the finish line. Of all the breaking details of what's unfolding and the president's message, and the big exciting details of third stimulus as well, as it's noontime, we got all the incredible details, and it starts right here, right now, from LALATE. Hey, good noontime, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Hope the weather is good where you are. It is absolutely spectacular here in Santa Monica, California. But Congress is working this weekend on your roads and bridges and recon in conjunction. After the president said a very clear message on Friday, you got to do both of them, not one. Wow. In fact, the president in a private meeting on Friday said, you moderate Democrats have to agree upon the recon. Otherwise, I'm never calling a vote on your roads and bridges. Oh my goodness. I have all the deliciousness. In this recording, we'll go over that recon that passed. $3.5 trillion of checks in there across the board. We'll go over all the clusters. Then we'll be turning to those IRS monthly stimulus checks that the Democrats vow to add in there. Third stimulus we'll be turning to, as well as fifth stimulus if we have some time. And then I'll give you a teaser of a very peculiar world exclusive brewing, as a number one player in the entire equation now has said senators are hearing from LA's viewers, and they're potentially getting together to use you as a way to get the stimulus checks over the finish line. Wow. I have all the incredible details of this and more, and it's here at noontime. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers is a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Casino VIP. Let's start with that $3.5 trillion recon. We'll go over the recon. Then we'll go over the stimulus checks, IRS. Then we'll go over the dramatics of what happened on the House floor. And then we'll be turning to third stimulus. First, with the recon. It was a week ago this Saturday when the House Subcommittee for Budgeting passed a $3.5 trillion recon. Wow. I delivered the breaking news as soon as it happened. And guess what? Broadcast media never even covered it occurring. Print media never even mentioned it. YouTube channels don't even know it occurred. All throughout this week, the developing details change on the hour by the hour, and I have every twist and turn that happen. And the twists and turns are happening today. This is the only place you're going to see all these dramatics, and I'll go over them right now. The recon is basically checks for everyone and not COVID related. That is great news. We're going to go over cluster number 1's checks passed first. Hazard pay, seniors, $4,000, care for them, $4,000 for young children, repairs for the home, college grants, bikes, cars, vehicles, and $51,000 of MSCs. Let's get to them right now. Hazard pay in there. Boy, this is a biggie. They're going to take an old tax code called the Earned Income Tax Credit, EIC, broaden the eligibility, and increase the amount of money, so more money to essential workers every year. Then up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person, up to $4,000 a year to care for a young child. Then they got money in there to repair the home if you're in a low-income community. Free money for you for that money. Then students in college got money as well, directly to the university or to them, or as the Pell's Grant, tax-free. Then $51,000 of monthly MSC checks in there. Yes, this is the CTC, the Child Tax Credit, broadening the eligibility and increasing the amount of money. First, they're broadening the eligibility, increasing now non-biological parents, and then broadening the amount of money now over 18 years. So, for every child that's born in a low-income household, up to $300 a month. Every month for every year up to 18 years, which is approximately $18,000. Then they got money in there for bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric, all U.S. auto manufacturers. 15% for the purchase price of a new electric bike, up to $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, personal use, a little bit more for business use, and then a little bit more for a truck for business use as well. In a second, we go over cluster number 2's checks pass, 3's checks pass, and those IRS stimulus checks, and that world-exclusive brewing on the sideline. Oh boy, it's coming up. But first, let's take a detour over to third stimulus for just a blink of an eye. Third stimulus got an additional cash infusion of money just about a week ago. This came from Treasury. Additional money for rent, utilities, and mortgage, $13 billion of it. Treasury is happy to provide the state and local governments with these additional resources in times of needs. More about how to get this money and the nonprofits featured in the newsletter coming up later in this video. Stay the final 15 minutes of this video. There's a lot coming up in today's video, a lot of breaking news. Let's cut over to the second cluster of checks. They got them in there, passed. This starts with up to $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Family leave, medical leave got in there. Under third stimulus, this would be $1,700 a week if you make $7,000 or more per year. Split in half. $35,000 a year, $800 a week. Split in half. $15,000 a year annual salary, up to $400 a week. Family leave, you have to stay home because your wife is pregnant. Medical leave, you have to stay home because your son broke his leg. They got no less than 12 other checks in the second cluster, and they're incredible. Child care programs checks, household tax credit checks, checks for seniors like dental, vision, hearing. More about that in the third cluster. And then checks to weatherize your home. Definitely wonderful. Weatherizing your home checks. Definitely needed if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. Remember, never let the moderate Democrats in the House. Nancy, lock the door. There you go. Common message of this week. Then we got checks for free pre-kindergarten, and then checks for tuition-free community college. Definitely need, especially if you want to take that class called What the World is LATE Saying 101. You know, it's a very confusing language, that foreign language called Los Angeles. Now you can be bilingual in that strange language they talk out there in that country called Los Angeles. Then green energy to follow with some positive energy. They got checks in there as well. In a second, we'll go over the third cluster of checks and those IRS checks. But first, what is Congress doing? Well, on Friday, the president had a meeting. He met privately with the House Democrats and the Senate Democrats. And what did he say? After a week in which I said to you, I don't really care if the roads and bridges passes or doesn't pass. It doesn't impact your recon. But the roads and bridges doesn't pass, it's a big win for your recon, a big win for you. Well, Thursday, roads and bridges didn't pass. Friday, roads and bridges didn't pass. And what did the president say on Friday? We now learn, and I'm telling you for the first time at noontime, that he said your roads and bridges is never going to go for a vote unless you agree to the recon. Yes, the president came back and kept his promise that the roads and bridges and the recon have to be voted on at the same time. He's not just doing roads and bridges, and he told the roads and bridges people, you better agree to the recon. Otherwise, I'm not calling the vote, and I'm telling Pelosi not to call the vote on the roads and bridges. Wow. I have more about this incredible dramatics that unfolded on Friday night. You can hear it for the first time on Noontime LA. It's coming up in just a second. But time for some more checks. Let's cut to the third cluster of checks. These checks are incredible. Free school meals for all checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, checks for farmers, checks for clean energy, checks for free internet, then checks for clean energy, checks for workers like independent contractors, and checks for seniors, dental checks, vision checks, hearing checks, and lowering the eligibility age for Medicare. Two of the checks in the third cluster I like and the president like because they're nearly automatic payments. The first one is cheaper prescription medication. How does cheaper prescription medication work? Let's say you go into the pharmacist and say, "Pharmacist, I need a prescription." And the pharmacist says, "Why? The moderate Democrats giving you a headache?" I'm like, "How did you know that?" "Yeah, I need a prescription for the moderate Democrats." Take two $20 bills out of your wallet to pay for that prescription. This becomes law. Then the next time the moderate Democrats give you the need to buy a prescription, you only have to take one $20 bill out of your wallet. Then, if you want a free internet, they're going to do it. They're going to give fortunes to city, counties, and states, red, blue, rich, and poor, so they can offer you free internet. All you have to do is ask for the username and password for the Wi-Fi. What's the username? It's DC Reese. What's the password? The password is Blaine66 Jalapal Get him. There you go. Later in this video, we'll be going over all the dramatics that unfolded on the president's meetings on Friday. Why the president really came in so heavy-handed, but did he come in heavy-handed enough? I'll go over his statements. You're hearing them for the first time on Noontime. I'll go over the analysis and the reaction from Democrats as the president's statement during those meetings, and my reaction to the situation as well. You'll get a preview of a world exclusive brewing on the sideline about that monthly IRS stimulus check. Boy, this is very exciting. I'll have a preview of what's happening with this. But first, let's turn to that IRS monthly stimulus check right now. What's huge is that this week, the Democratic progressives that had told no less than 1,000 viewers of this channel that they're giving them an IRS monthly stimulus check after you advocate, reassured the viewers again the same statement. Bernie Sanders telling viewers twice this week, again, that he will be inserting a monthly stimulus check after you advocated for it. And also the reassurances coming in from AOC, Jalapal Omar, and AOC's offices this week as well. Last Saturday, the House approving a budget of a $3.5 trillion recon. And after they did, Pelosi and the president coming out and saying, "That's not a bill, it's a work in progress. If you want to add stuff in it, you can add stuff in there. Just tell me what you want to add in it." Ironically, going in the weekend, Pelosi actually told viewers of this channel she's adding in the monthly IRS stimulus check. I sort of see it as sort of a bill envelope, not a bill. So if you want to add stuff into the envelope, you can. That's what Pelosi said this week. That's what Pelosi said last weekend. And guess what? That's what Democrats have told his viewers of this channel as well. Now, later, coming up in this video, we'll go over all the dramatics, and I'll go over what the president said. It's a big win for your recon. In those two meetings on Friday, we're starting to get more information out about what happened. Then we'll go over the brand new world exclusive brewing on the sideline about those monthly IRS stimulus checks. You're hearing for the first time at noontime. Then we'll be cutting over to third stimulus. If we have time, we'll cut over to fifth stimulus. A lot coming up as the second half of this video unfolds. Stay with me as Noontime continues in just a second. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now, live from Santa Monica at noontime, as you're going to hear details you've never heard before, breaking news and world exclusives. We'll go over the breaking news of what the president really told those Democrats during that Friday meeting after the progressives successively blocked the roads and bridges. What the president said, and boy, it is great news. We'll be turning to a world exclusive you're going to hear for the first time on this channel. It's about this channel. It's about you. It's about your monthly stimulus checks. It's about something I said that could happen, and it may be happening. I'm going to give you a teaser because it's a developing detail at noontime. Then we'll be cutting back to those monthly stimulus checks and the inclusion of them and everything that's been happening over the last few days. To the extent that we have time, we're going to cut over the third stimulus as well and maybe get a little bit about this stimulus. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. New shows coming up this afternoon. Our afternoons at LA, brand new at 3 o'clock, and evenings LA at 5 o'clock. We got shows tonight at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11:30 as well. Let's turn to the dramatics of what happened on Friday, being heard for the first time now at noontime. To understand what happened on Friday, you need to understand what happened going into the Friday meeting. About a month ago, Pelosi was sort of ambushed by the Gothenheim group, Representative Gothenheim, and the Goth gang, moderate Democrats, to get the roads and bridges to a vote. The president had made a promise to the American people that the roads and bridges and the recon would be voted at the same time. But the moderate Democrats ambushed Pelosi about a month ago to get her to agree to a date to vote on the roads and bridges, and she gave in and agreed to a date this last Thursday. As this week unfolded, the following events occurred between the moderate Democrats protecting their roads and bridges and the progressives protecting your recon. The moderate Democrats were brought into meetings in the White House, and the White House president said, "What do you think about the recon?" Sorry, I don't hear you. Can you speak up louder? The moderate Democrats would routinely avoid the answer. In fact, they said, just vote on the roads and bridges. It became a reoccurring theme. In fact, the moderate Democrats tried to use a fake deadline about Thursday to suggest the roads and bridges had to be done by Thursday. It was a fake deadline. As the week started to continue, one moderate Democrat published an article trash-talking the progressives and the recon. Then, as we approached Thursday, the progressives said, you know what? We have 60 progressives ready to vote down the roads and bridges. If you look over at the House of Representatives, there are 3 more Democrats than Republicans. So Pelosi only has a margin of 3 Democrats to lose. She was set to lose 60 Democrats. So said Jalapal, who's the chairwoman of the Democratic Progressive Caucus. Then, as we got closer to Thursday, by late Wednesday, it got very strange. The progressives are keeping it professional, keeping it respectful, keeping it calm, keeping it very low key. The moderates really trash-talking the progressives, like Gothenheimer calling the progressives a fringe group. Very few Democrats, very few people. They're not a lot of people. They have no strength at any issue. They don't follow what the president wants to say. When it was the president who told them to protect the recon all throughout the month of July. And then, as if it couldn't get any stranger, Joe Manchin released a document and then claimed the document shows that Chuck Schumer had lied to the American people about the recon. As if that was not enough, Schumer's office slammed back and said, I didn't agree to that document. That document's your document. That's not even an agreement. That was just what you wanted to talk about at the moment. I never said such a thing. It got very, very bad hat at that point. So as we went into Thursday night, the progressives had a Zoom call at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time saying, based upon the antics of the moderates, we're likely to get more than 60 votes down. And the dramatics at that moment were the following. 1, the moderates were being slammed by Pelosi for not keeping a promise about the debt ceiling limit 2 weeks ago. 2nd, the moderates were being slammed by Elizabeth Warren by not keeping a promise that the roads and bridges and recon were supposed to be voted at the same time. And then 9 o'clock came. Pelosi doesn't call the vote. Then 10 o'clock approaches. Everyone thinks the vote's going to occur, even Jalapal, and the vote doesn't start. Then, an event which at the time, as I broke into a live feed at that night, I said, I think this is the event that's going to change the whole dramatics of the week. it did. The president summons Brian Deasy, yeah, that guy from the Sirloin shows, the Yaley, into a meeting with Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, and Kristen Sinema of Arizona in Chuck Schumer's office at 10 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time, on a Thursday night, with elected officials who were in their 80s, saying, go in there and get the progressives to vote yes on the roads and bridges, and informally agree upon something sort of off the cuff with the moderate Democrats who had not kept two promises this week. The meeting lasts all of 10 seconds. Bernie Sanders emerges from the meeting, and while he doesn't refer to the president at all or the administration, he says this meeting was absurd, to quote Sanders. He says, I don't do business like this. And no surprise, he says, I'm not going to go into a meeting and suddenly change a $4 trillion package at 11th hour at 10 o'clock at night in 10 seconds in someone's room with two people. I don't do business like this. Immediately, Jalopal gets word and tells her progressive caucus, do not move on the recon whatsoever and don't agree to anything with the moderate Democrats unless they actually vote on the recon. 10 o'clock approaches, no vote. 11 o'clock approaches, and Steny Hoyer, the number two guy in the House, Nancy Pelosi's second in hand, the majority leader of the House, Democrats, says you can go home. No vote. Win number one. The progressives block the roads and bridges vote on a Thursday. Steny Hoyer says, come back for Friday. We'll do the vote on the roads and bridges on Friday. Win number two. The progressives block the vote again. I started the Friday recordings on this channel saying, I don't see any change since Thursday. In fact, I see it worse for the moderates. I see the progressives absolutely blocking the vote on Friday for the roads and bridges. I don't think it's going to pass. It's never called for a vote. Win number two. And then came win number three. The president orders the House Democrats into a meeting with him behind closed doors. No reporters present. And then another meeting separately with the Senate Democrats. No reporters present. Closed doors as well. During those meetings, he says the following: there will be no vote ever on the roads and bridges at all until the moderate Democrats agree upon the recon. Win number three for this channel. In fact, he says, I'm instructing Pelosi. I understand Pelosi made a deal with the moderate Democrats to call a vote on the recon, on the roads and bridges on Thursday, but I'm instructing Pelosi not to call any vote on any infrastructure until we have complete agreement on the recon. Wow. What a big win. So now let's go over his quotes that are now been leaked from that meeting on Thursday. First, the president says, it doesn't matter whether it's 6 minutes, 6 days, or 6 weeks, we're going to get it done. Then he says, I wrote that damn bill. Even a smaller bill, referring to the recon, can get historic investments in childcare, daycare, clean energy. You get a whole lot of hell out of things done. We can be consequential bill upon the previous bill, but not pull back from it. I know a little bit about the legislative process. I don't recall before in fundamental issues that we don't have to make compromises. He said the progressives will block the infrastructure indefinitely, and that it's not going to pass, so he has instructed it not to be, the infrastructure not to be called for a vote. That he said progressives need to get moderates on board for the recon, otherwise we won't go forward. He then came the reaction coming on in. So what did he say? You have to have the moderates agree to the recon, and they must agree to the recon, and that there will be no vote for the infrastructure. This is huge, that the president basically did exactly what he had promised the American people. Remember what he had promised us? He had promised us that both bodies of legislation would be voted on at the same time, recon and bipartisan, if not recon right before bipartisan. Number two, he said they both have to land on his desk at the same time, otherwise he won't sign one of them, he has to sign both of them. Number three, that this was originally one piece of legislation. This was all together before before July 4th, and that he only split it up because the moderates wanted to split it up. But by splitting it up, he didn't make it so that the moderates could just take their thing and run over the finish line and leave the recon behind. No. That was not the deal. And that's what Elizabeth Warren said this week, and the president kept his promise. Moreover, he really protected the recon like you could not imagine. What was the reaction? Here is what a Democrat said on the record, his reaction to the meeting. Henry Cooler, Democrat Texas, said, the president was trying to help both sides understand the reality, but I think that he upset both sides. I do appreciate the president's efforts of both sides, but apparently it did not work. Then here come the reactions, and next, my reaction. Adam Green, co-founder of Progressive Campaign Committee, says progressives were Biden's best friend this week for keeping the ceiling high. The standard's going to be less about the dollar amount and more about the funding. And then a former Democratic pollster for Bernie Sanders, Ben Tolchin, writes, I was hoping that Biden would learn from Obama, which is you have to fight for this thing. You can't just negotiate with Kristen Sinema of Arizona. You have to go to war. That's what it is. You have to go out to Arizona yourself as the president and tell the citizens of Arizona as the president, you all support this, and your senator, Kristen Sinema, should do it as too. Now, let me go over my analysis and let me go over also the numbers. First, let me go over the numbers because this is really where it gets a little complicated. The president has expressed frustration trying to explain it to the American people. I'm going to try to explain it to you as well, slowing it down. When we look at a $3.5 trillion package where the monthly IRS stimulus checks were to be added in afterwards or added in as a work in progress, the $3.5 trillion number does not mean the federal government's bank is taking that check out of the bank to give to you. Rather, the way the money is coming to your wallet in this recon is from the wallet of a billionaire or a corporation. Why? Because they're changing the corporate tax code and the billionaire's tax code so that the billionaire's money goes to you. So when we look at this recon, the money to pay that goes into your wallet is not coming from the Bank of the United States. It's coming out of the wallet of a billionaire or a corporation. And that is what's important. Number two, the items in this recon were all part of negotiations by Bernie Sanders in July. He went into those negotiations asking for $7 trillion. He was ecstatic when he got $3.5 trillion. After he got $3.5 trillion, he explained why he was ecstatic. He said, I got the same funding for the same programs, just for less years. And so we can do this again in a couple more years. Let me show you an example. Here's an example. If we use, for example, the bike, 15% off the purchase price of a bike. For example, that bike provision may have been a 20-year bike provision. Instead, it'll be a 10-year bike provision. When we talk about your IRS stimulus checks, we're talking about 6 months. We're not talking about 10 years of stimulus checks. What Biden and Sanders and all these people did to get from $7 trillion to $3 trillion is bring provisions they were looking to run for 20 years in closer, maybe 10 years. And now what they're talking about is bringing them in and leaving it a little closer, maybe 8 years or 7 years. We're not talking about doing modifications of things that are running for 6 months. It's totally different. We're talking about things that were going to run 2 decades, 20 decades. And the way they fix them is they go back and do this again in a few years from now and say, oh, you know that thing that's running out in 6 years from now? Let's do it again. That's how the financial numbers work. So no concern for you and your IRS stimulus check. Next, here's my impression of the situation. I agree with Tolchin. I think that the president is going to see a very, very clear awakening either this weekend or by the end of the weekend, early next week, that he really does have to take a heavy hand with the moderate Democrats. The progressives were told by the president since July, protect my recon. He wrote up the recon. They all agreed upon the price tag. He liked the $3.5 trillion price tag. He said, protect the recon. The progressives protected the recon. They protected all week. They protected it into the weekend. They did everything right. There's nothing wrong the progressives did here. The only people that did things wrong is the moderate Democrats. They tried to scheme the system. What did they do? First, we originally had this as one item. Roads and bridges and recon were all originally together, remember? And then the moderate Democrats said, break it apart. Okay, we broke it apart so that the two could move together in one path together. Then, as Liz Warren said this week, the moderate Democrats didn't keep their promise. They tried to take the roads and bridges and run over the finish line and leave your recon in the waste behind. Let's run with the roads and bridges and we'll forget about the recon. That was not the agreement. And I think the president needs to take a heavy hand with the moderate Democrats because they truly tried to scheme the system. They didn't keep their promise. And he made that concession to split it up for them, and they tried to abuse that breakup, that split that he did for them. Finally, it was a week in which the progressives kept it professional, were very respectful, and they were trash talk left and right by the moderate Democrats. This is one party, one political party, and the president allowed it to look like two different political parties warring at each other. He should have really gone after the moderate Democrats, said the way you conducted yourself professionally this week was unacceptable. But wow, I got a big surprise for you coming up with those IRS stimulus checks, and we're going into them right now. Those IRS stimulus checks, monthly IRS stimulus checks, are really, really fascinating for several reasons. One, going into last Saturday, over 1,000 viewers of this channel were told by no less than a dozen elected officials that they want that IRS stimulus check in there after you advocated. Then, this week, Santa's office telling two viewers of this channel he's putting the monthly stimulus check still in there. Jalapal Omar, AOC's office, confirming it as well this week. And Chuck Schumer's office, yes, even Chuck Schumer's office, on I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday, telling Donnie's wife, you remember Donnie, he's coming up later in this video, telling Donnie's wife he's inserting that monthly stimulus check provision. But is there a new world exclusive brewing on the sideline about the Democratic senators, us, me, you, and this channel, and the advocacy of stimulus checks? I'll have that in just a second. But let's go over how we got here. 8 weeks ago, I said, pick up the phone and advocate for the inclusion of a stimulus check. And WR did. He picked up the phone and called Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, Joe Biden's old confidant, advocate for a stimulus check for himself, his family, his community. And Coons' office said, yes, I'm putting a monthly stimulus check in there. 3 weeks ago, this channel really picked up. You saw the significant change in this channel. I started delivering exclusives and breaking news on the hour by the hour of everything that was happening with congressional leaders. I first reported that I believe that House members would write the recon. That was now confirmed as correct. I reported the exclusive that I believe the House would vote first. That is now also correct. And the Senators would vote last. And then I said that Bernie Sanders is critical of the equation because he's the guy who got the $3.5 trillion price tag. And he's the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. Well, that week, Bernie Sanders said a pivotal quote which changed everything. He said that, unlike prior budget chairmen, I like to get out amongst the people when doing a budget bill. Well, that week I said pick up the phone and advocate to Bernie Sanders because that means that sentence he wants to hear from you. And you're going to see in a second that that sentence has now new meaning this weekend. And Brother Joshua picked up the phone and advocated. Lynn Glenn advocated. Margaret advocated. And all three were told their inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. What does advocacy look like? What does the face of advocacy look like? Let's look at some screen grabs from the live chat of the show, just channel, and from private messages on social media that I've gotten. Let's first look at Margaret. I think this is Margaret right here. There she is. She writes, honestly, I am the woman on the phone from the Senate office, start crying when I explained everything I've been through. Then another viewer she lost her husband during the pandemic. She's had 10 surgeries. She's raising 2 teenage daughters on SSDI and SSDI. That's not enough. And that's what Brother Joshua did. He picked up the phone and advocated to Bernie Sanders' office saying, I need it. My family needs it. My church needs it. My community needs it. Brother Joshua is a 2020 volunteer to the community page who helped thousands of viewers get money for rent. Purple Hawk as well. And Sanders' office telling Brother Joshua 3 weeks ago, yes, he will include a monthly stimulus check. $1,000 to $1,300, 3 to 6 months, but needs to hear your advocacy. And I said, pick up the phone, call and advocate. And then you started doing it. That's when the snowballing kicked in. That's when we really took it to another level. As Donnie, yeah, you met his wife. Now here comes Donnie, picked up the phone and advocated to Sanders' office 3 weeks ago. And this is what Donnie wrote about that conversation. I called Bernie Sanders' office and I said, I need it because my city needs it. I need it to progress. I need it for my water, everything I got. And they said, yes, they're doing a forced stimulus check. Hurricane Tina picked up the phone and wrote this after her conversation. I called Bernie Sanders' office, got through, and they said they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. Carolyn writes this. I called Bernie Sanders' office. I said people are losing their home and everything they got. And Sanders says, yes, they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. Advocacy kept on coming in, like Yaya calling Ron Wyden's office saying they're going to put SS200 in there. And then we learned the importance of calling not one, but as many offices as you can. Will calling 3 offices, Sanders, Schumer, and Warren all on the same day. He writes, all 3 secretaries confirmed the inclusion. Then later he writes, Senator Warren says she wants to do $1,000, $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. Lorica getting Bob Casey's office on the phone, and Casey saying after she advocated the inclusion is happening, and they're currently negotiating now for the amount of this checks. At that point, we had nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel being confirmed the same message by senators: Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden. But I said, pick up the phone and call over to those House members like AOC Omar and Jalapal and Nancy Pelosi. And that's what Paul did, got AOC's office on the phone. And she assured me they are doing a stimulus check, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 after, 6 to 12 months. Janice said she got Jalapal on the phone and said, yes, they're doing forced stimulus check in there. The messages kept on coming on in, and they didn't stop, like Mark, $51,000 Mark, getting Pelosi's office on the phone, and Pelosi's office saying it would be $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and they're currently negotiating the amount. The messages continued thereafter. But why is this great news? And what is the tip of the teaser of an exclusive brewing on the sidelines? The reason why this is great news is that the Democrats said going into last weekend they would be adding it in there. And after last weekend, still saying as well, all future tense verbs will be adding, is going to be adding. That's consistent with Pelosi, who actually also told viewers of this channel that she's adding as well, like Mark. It's consistent with Pelosi, and the president said, it's a work in progress, the recon. You want to add stuff in there? Tell me, add it in there. House members can add it on the House side when they're writing up the legislation, and senators can add it in during a Senate vote-a-rama during the final 2 days when it lands in the Senate. But what's that word exclusive brewing on the sideline? This channel has now heard, but is still trying to confirm the details of it, that one of the major legislative players in the process involved here for that IRS monthly stimulus check has heard from what's going on, has heard from the viewers, has heard of this channel, has seen what has been going on with this channel, and ironically is now doing exactly what I said could happen. It was about a week ago where I said on this channel, if you call up and advocate, the senators will be on the phone talking to the other senators about debt ceiling limit or infrastructure or recon, and say, have you been getting phone calls? I've been getting phone calls. Have you been getting phone calls? I've been getting phone calls. Well, reportedly, that is what's already now happening. Exactly what I said would happen, that your advocacy is now working and that they're talking about your advocacy. And that the brewing world exclusive on the sideline, which I'm going to have more about as I learn more about it at the moment, because I'm sort of on the fringe. I'm not part of the story. I'm trying to learn about the story, is that the legislators have heard about this channel, have heard about your advocacy, and are now trying to use your advocacy to say, hey, you need to do this recon, you need to do these stimulus checks. And that is a huge turn of events. This is why advocacy works, not treating legislators like FedEx tracking. Not saying, I need it, I need this, I want, not saying when, where, how, who, but rather explain your story. Reportedly, the legislators are blown away by you telling your personal story of why you, your family, your church, your town, your business, or your community need that stimulus check. I'll have more about this as it unfolds throughout the weekend and early next week. Now let's turn over to third stimulus and the exciting details as additional cash infusion for third stimulus is going out. This is huge. Additional $13 billion is landing for your cities, counties, and states. Get that pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to show you how to get this big money. And a refrigerator? Yeah, that too. We're going to go over rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and refrigerators. And it starts right now. The money for rent has gone up a lot for viewers. Viewers are getting more money for rent, utilities, and SNAP than ever before. Let's look at the rent. It was a month ago that viewers were getting this for rent. Now viewers are getting upwards of $40,000 for rent. Remember $51,000 Mark? You do. Here is $51,000 for Mark. He's on the list for rent. Well, guess how much he got for utilities. You saw how much he got for utilities here. Mark's brother-in-law just got $15,000, a growth of 300% in a month. Then Mark's brother-in-law got $21,000 for SNAP, a 400% growth in 1 month. Get that pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to show you how you get this big money as well for yourself. You're going to reach out to 6 places. Each place is different eligibility. They have different pots of money. If one says no, reach out to the next. Next, listen to the keywords I say in this video. And third, listen for those nonprofits. All right, here you go. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, your county house authority, your state hall, and your state house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Now, I want you, if you're a member, which I hope you are, the membership link is on the video. I want you to read that letter, that newsletter that goes out Monday through Friday from this channel, and open the Treasury statement about the $13 billion. Read it before you call for the rent, because every red, blue, poor, and rich city, county will have that money. They may not have it yet, but they have it. They will be having it. And when you call up, I want you to ask about it. If they have a waiting list, get on the waiting list. They don't have a waiting list, say I want to call you tomorrow to make sure you get that money. Be first to pounce as a Purple Hawk. Then utilities. Reach out to all your different utility companies. So if you have 5, reach out to 5. And then the nonprofits. Wow. The nonprofits have been doing incredible things for viewers of this channel, and they're paying for big sums of money. First, nonprofits pay for everything that is in third stimulus, but they do it with different eligibility. So if you've had an eligibility issue for third stimulus, lean on the nonprofits. Here are the nonprofits. There are 5 of them: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. They're also featured in the newsletter for members. It's also important to understand that the nonprofits also pay for things that are not paid for by the federal government, like sometimes clothing, sometimes small appliances, sometimes small home repairs, and sometimes clothing and homeless people in the shelters. In the last week, 2 viewers have gotten refrigerators from the nonprofits. 1 viewer got a furnace and her window fixed. And viewers have reported big success with quick turnaround times for rent from St. Vincent de Paul and United Way in the last 7 days. Again, here are the 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. Finally, remember, it's October, so reach out to Salvation Army if you need help with holiday gifts now. Don't wait to November. They do it in October. All right, next SNAP. SNAP is money for food. You get it from Department of Agriculture. Reach out to them. And the big news is that everyone's benefits are going up now in this month of October, an average of 25%, lifetime, automatically, nationwide. You're going to get 2 letters. That first letter says your benefits stepped down in September because the last thing ended in September. Now the lifetime benefit step up starts in October. So watch for that second letter. It's coming. Final unemployment benefits. This raises your benefits up if you're on SS. This raises your the unemployment benefits. First, you're getting back the refund check from your state due to overpayment of unemployment benefits. Average payment is about $2,000 to $5,000. This is the one, the computer error one. And then the refund check from IRS due to payment on that 2020 tax return for unemployment benefits. Average payment is $1,000 to $2,000. If you got in any of these monies, post in the live chat right now. And finally, if you haven't become a member, please consider becoming a member. The link is in the video. Members, Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and get the LALATE newsletter written by me. It's sent out by the YouTube alert system and the LALATE alert system. It features the big money under first, second, and third stimulus for you to get. That's how Mark got $50,000. Johnny, $80,000. Mark's friends, $100,000. Johnny's family members, $100,000. Lorraine, $105,000. Now she's going to $110,000. I want you to get this big sum of money. I also want you to make 2 promises to yourself this weekend. 1, try to get rent and utilities as far as you can into 2022. I want you to get this money as far as you can because it may not be repeated under 4th stimulus. Number 2, I want you to lean on those nonprofits. So it's not cold winter yet. It's early, still mild fall. I want you to get as much money from the nonprofits that you're eligible for right now because they're not getting the calls yet. The quick turnaround times are currently there, so get that money right now. And with that, let's go over a big recap and what's unfolding later this weekend and next week. Well, number 1, the roads and bridges going down in flames. I had told you, it doesn't matter if the roads and bridges passes for the recon, but if it doesn't pass, it's a big win for the recon. 1, 2, 3 big wins for the recon this week, as the roads and bridges did not pass on Thursday, did not pass on Friday, and in fact is never going to go for a vote, says the president, unless you agree upon the recon. This is a big win for the progressives, a big win for you, and a big win for Americans. Gothenheimer and the Goth Gang was gloating on Thursday, saying the roads and bridges 100,000% was his quote, 100,000% was going to be proved and pass and become a law on Thursday night. In fact, it's never going to become a law unless Gothenheimer and the moderate Democrats agree upon the recon. The president leaning upon the moderate Democrats to get that recon agreement upon him. And now the president keeping his promise to the American people and the progressives that it was two bills to be done at the same time and to be approved at the same time. And that you're not, as a moderate Democrat, going to scheme the system and try to do just your roads and bridges and not the recon. Meantime, nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel being told the same thing before last Saturday and since last Saturday, that the inclusion of an IRS stimulus check is going in there. $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000, 6 months is what they're looking at. Finally, what we're looking at and seeing in the next few hours, potentially by tomorrow, if not by Monday or Tuesday, is whether this world-exclusive brooming will manifest itself as it looks. It looks like it's going to be a biggie, and we will see what happens from it. I'll have more for you as we go into Afternoons LA. The show will automatically take you there. It's the 1 o'clock show. Then we go into the 3 o'clock afternoon show. It's a brand new show, taped today. And then the evening show at 5 o'clock. We have shows at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11:30 tonight. Important shows that show you how to track your stimulus and why certain banks pay stimulus before other banks. Very important shows for you to watch. And then I'm back with you tomorrow morning as well. So with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. The most accurate, most in-depth, and the most game-changing coverage there is. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next on Afternoons LA.